Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. Next one comes from Yokada, I always get that wrong. A guy by the name of Ross, if I remember correctly. Ross writes, Happy New Year. Well, it's a bit late for Happy New Year, but at the time it was Happy New Year back. Anyway, he writes, I had my eyes on an RPS 10 for a while. Generally a fan of pitch shifting delays, but the CV control was a major plus for me. But unfortunately the prices have risen to more than I'd like to spend on something like that, especially when a used price for Make Noise Mimophobe module would be very similar. I probably said that completely wrong. Mimophone. Let's try that. I'm the world's worst at this. It's part of the dyslexic. I am dyslexic actually, so just bear that in mind. And it's one of those things I just struggle with, the kind of pronunciation of certain words. But I digress. I recently picked up a Yamaha SY77, Roland the SY series. Would love an SY99, but space is the key issue. Of course, it always is an issue when you buy synths. Synths have a footprint, and unless you can accommodate the footprint, it's a bit difficult. Anyway, and I've also got a Roland JV880, both of which I've wanted for quite some time. The pair are an absolute pig to program, as you're probably well aware. Yep. Wondering if you have an experience with the CTR RLR suite of software programmers. This is the way to go for this era of digital synths. As much as I love tactile hardware, I found spending a day evening just programming a bank of custom patches to writing and recording works best for me. I don't know. Well, I think in a special use cases the boss effects make sense. That doesn't sound right, does it? Yeah. So this was in response to the boss effects microacts in the traditional way, and what I think is the boss effects do make sense for specific use cases, if you like, how you're going to use them. But honestly, in my opinion, you can get much better results with multi-effect units that became available just after they're released. And I'm kind of specifically referring to things like the Alsys range of effects. You get a lot of bang for your buck in those effects. So I've always said, people keep telling me I'm using the boss effects wrong. Maybe I am, but this is the but, right? You can get more bang for your buck. You can do more with other multi-effect rack mount units that were supplied after. And if you go around a lot of studios, you quite often find a lot of studios have either Yamaha or the Alsys effects in them, which I was quite surprised about. I was in a studio recently and I was really quite surprised, and they just said, you get a lot of bang for your buck when you're doing stuff. So fair enough, I've said that for years. But I think you hit the nail on the head with composing. You spend more time creating the patch that derails the music as opposed to writing the melody and then working out the tones required to bring the song to life. I'm definitely guilty of this in the past. I've really been guilty of spending all this time trying to craft the bass patch to realise that the 80s bass patch I want is on the TX81Z and it's the one everybody uses, and it gives you that beautiful bass patch, so why am I bothering trying to craft something unique. I do ask myself that sometimes. And I agree that the JV 880, the Yamaha TG, will definitely give you a digital synth experience to add to your compositions. I haven't had the JV 880, but I've had other synths in the JV line. Or I've got other synths in the JV line, should I say. And, the sounds that come off these boxes is phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. We strive with modern synthesizers, but yet, as I've said, as a collector of synthesizers, and I've got a 77, and you would have seen videos of me, doing some repairs on the 77. But the sound that comes off the 77 is phenomenally good. I have to be honest and say it's on par with some of the stuff I get off the Kronos, and yet. I can pick a 77 up for 300 quid. A Kronos is going to set me back £1,600 for what, a 61 note version, a 61 key version. And you have to ask yourself sometimes, can you get it done with something like that? I'm a great advocate, as you well know because you're watching this channel, I'm a great advocate of the legacy tech and the amount of bang for your buck you get in a lot of this older legacy tech. Yes, you get a bit of hiss and rumble off the outputs. This stuff is old. It wasn't designed for a lot of the things we're trying to do with it. But you can clean all that up in a modern DAW. You don't need just run it through a couple of filters and you can get rid of a lot of the problems that you think you've got. And then you've got an inexpensive unit that gives you a lot of sound reinforcement, sound capability, lead capability, chorus capability, you name it, you can get it out of this stuff. So, what I would say is if you can get a 77 for about 300 quid, a 99 for about 400 quid, and you're in the market for that sort of stuff, buy it. Just buy it. Because you'll never regret it. And at the end of the day, if you don't get on with it, you know what? Just sell it on to somebody else because you'll get your money back. Next one comes from minus case 3C minus. Is that like sort of Church of the Third Mind or something? In response to, I haven't written down what this is in response to. Naughty me. And he writes, my pitch down is not working. Can you help? Give me some advice, please. This is related to the SY77. I remember this because I remember this was an email. And basically, I did a video which runs through the diagnostic mode on the SY77, which, if I remember correctly, I will put in the link to the video below. Anyway, what you need to do is you need to go into diagnostic mode and you need to find the test for pitch shift and run it. If the tester does not register movement, then it is an issue with the rotary pot that actually sits, so your pitch wheel sits like that, and onto there is a potentiometer that sits sort of halfway between two values, and if you push it up it sort of increases resistance, and if you put it down it decreases resistance, or the other way around, I'm not sure, but effectively that's what it is. But if it's not registering anything, then there's a problem probably with the pot. I would say it's probably been given a bit of a hard life. If it does register movement, are you seeing full movement? So it will say, I can't remember what the range of values is, but let's say it's plus or minus 100. So when it's sitting dead center, it should be 0. If you push it forward, it should go plus 100. If you pull it back, it should go minus 100. If it's not registering those full ranges, again, I probably would say there's something wrong with the rotary pot. But it gives you some idea of where the issue is. If you're seeing, it going full 100, you've got no issue actually with the circuitry on that. You've got an issue somewhere else in the synthesizer. And again, this is where it starts to get into it could be, but I've not got a clue what it is until you actually see the synth itself. And a lot of these issues where people ask me these questions, I have to turn around and say, I'm going to give you how I would approach the problem, but I can't necessarily diagnose it for you because I'm not in front of your synthesizer or your instrument or your piece of gear. So that's how I approach it, and then try and get some sort of idea of what's actually causing the problem. for further investigation.